We're live from Council Chambers at City Hall.
Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory and Métis homeland, and acknowledge the diverse indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Nikorasu, as well as Métis and Inuit, now settlers from around the world. Roll call. Councillor Wright.
Good morning.
Councillor Knack.
Good morning.
Councillor Principe.
Good morning.
Councillor Stevenson.
Good morning.
Councillor Paquette.
Good morning.
Councillor Tank.
Good morning.
Councillor Hamilton.
Good morning.
Councillor Rutherford.
Morning.
Councillor Salvador.
Good morning.
Councillor Cartmel.
Good morning.
Councillor Rice.
Good morning.
And Councillor Jans.
Good morning.
All right, everyone is here. Adoption of the agenda. Councillor Hamilton.
Yes, I'd like to move the May 30th City Council public hearing meeting agenda. Second.
Second by Councillor Rice. Please vote.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton.
I guess I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Protocol items. All right. We have with us today grade 1 class from Avonmore with their teacher Andrea Semda and your ward representative, your council representative is Councillor Salvador, Ward Métis. Thank you so much for joining us. Such a good morning for us to start this by seeing kids at City Hall. All right, thank you for joining us. Are you having fun? Yeah? Are you going to be here all day? You're going to the legislature later. All right. Probably see you in the city hall room there. Okay, good. All right. Have fun. Okay. Cool. Okay. Any other protocol items? Seeing none at this time, I will explain the process for the public hearing. The city clerk will call out the bylaws to be dealt with. I will call out the names of the people registered to speak to each bylaw. Next, council members will select the bylaws that they wish to discuss and vote on any bylaws that have not been selected for discussion. Council will then deal with each of the bylaws that were selected for discussion and debate. For each item, Administration will first provide an overview of the bylaw. Members of the public who have registered to speak will then be invited to make their presentations. Those in favor will speak first in panels, followed by those opposed in panels. Each person will have 5 minutes to make comments. The clerk will run the official timer in the council chamber. The timer lights on the podiums will be green for first 4 minutes, turn yellow when there is 1 minute remaining, and flash red when the 5 minutes are up. If you're participating virtually, you may wish to use a timer of your own. When everyone in your panel has had a chance to present, members of council may ask questions of you or other panel members. For this reason, you may wish to remain in the meeting until all questions have been asked of your panel. After comments from the public, council may ask questions of city administration. After all questions of administration have concluded, I will ask council if they wish to ask any further questions to those who presented in response to new information that may have arisen during the public hearing. Thereafter, council may close the public hearing and debate the bylaw. If you're participating virtually, please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking and refrain from using the raise hand function as it creates issues of fairness and decorum. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please reach out to the office of the city clerk by using the contact information provided in your confirmation of registration or at city.clerk@edmonton.ca. If you're here with us in person, the clerk will guide you to your seat when it is your turn to speak. As Edmonton transitions from provincial mask mandates and city temporary mask bylaw, we ask visitors to council chamber to be kind and respectful to each other. You can wear a mask to protect yourself and those around you, and please respect people's personal decisions around wearing masks. In the event of an emergency, please follow the clerk's direction to evacuate. City staff will direct you to your muster point. So at this time, I'll ask City Clerk, may you please call the bylaws.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Is there anyone to speak to item 3.1, bylaw 20496, to close a portion of road right-of-way, Parkview?
In favor, we have Joanne Duggan to answer questions only and Tyler Duggan to answer questions only. Both are in person. So Joanne, you're here, and Tyler, you're here. Okay, thank you. And no one is in opposition.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Is there anyone to speak to item 3.2, Charter Bylaw 20500, to allow for a mid to high-rise commercial or residential mixed-use building, Prince Rupert?
In favor, we have Jeff Booth joining remotely. Jeff, are you there?
Good morning.
And Thomas Erickson joining remotely.
Hello.
And no one is in opposition, but I want to ask Jeff and Thomas, are you making presentations or to answer questions only?
We'll only present if the item is selected.
Only present if item is selected. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Is there anyone to speak to item 3.3, Charter Bylaw 20494, to allow for low-density residential uses, protection of natural area within the North Saskatchewan River Valley and ravine system, development of a stormwater management facility, and protection of a pipeline corridor, Starling?
Starling, that's 3.3, right? In favor, Chris Davies to answer questions only in person. Thank you, Chris. Doug Vanderbrink to answer questions only in person. And Luciano Salvador to answer questions only in person. Thank you. And no one is in opposition.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Items 3.4 and 3.5 will be dealt with together. Is there anyone to speak to item 3.4, Bylaw 20498, to amend the Uplands Neighborhood Structure Plan, or item 3.5, Charter Bylaw 20499, to allow mid-rise multi-unit housing, the Uplands?
In favor, Christine Lee to answer questions only joining remotely. Christine, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning.
Okay. and Rihanna Rahman to answer questions only, joining remotely.
Good morning.
Thank you. And no one is in opposition.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Items 3.6 and 3.7 will be dealt with together. Is there anyone to speak to item 3.6, Charter Bylaw 20503, to allow development of the downtown warehouse campus park downtown? Or item 3.7, Bylaw 20502, to allow for portions of 107th Street Northwest and adjacent lanes to be closed to facilitate construction of the downtown warehouse campus park downtown?
In favor, Jeff Smith to answer questions only. Jeff, are you there? Joining remotely, sorry.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Sohi.
Thank you. And Neil Osediewicz to answer questions only, joining remotely.
Good morning.
And Janice Lee to answer questions only in person. Here you are. No one is in opposition.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Is there anyone to speak to item 3.8, Charter Bylaw 20501, to allow for medium-rise multi-unit housing Glenora?
In favor, we have Michelle Ouellette joining remotely. Michelle, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
And Jason LeBlanc joining remotely.
Yes, good morning, I'm here.
Got it. And we have members of public in opposition. David Johnson joining in person. David? Is David joining us virtually? No. And then Mary Colonferro in person. Here you are, Mary. Do you know if David is going to be joining us? Or you don't know, right? You don't, okay. All right, so that is it for now. Yeah. Okay. All right, selections, colleagues. Selections per bylaws. All right, Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. I will select item 3.8, and I also have some questions on item 3.3.
3.8, 3.3. Any other selections? Seeing none, I will go to Councillor Cartmell.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. I'll move closure of the public hearing on items 3.1, 3.2, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. Vote is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move first reading of items 3.1, 3.2, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. It is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move second reading of items 3.1, 3.2, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7. Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move consideration of third reading of items 3.1, 3.2, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and 3.7.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move third and final reading of Bylaw 20496, Charter Bylaw 20500, Bylaw 20498, Charter Bylaw 20499, Charter Bylaw 20503, and Bylaw 20502.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Okay, now we are on to item 3.3, Charter Bylaw 20494, to allow for low-density residential uses, protection of natural area within North Saskatchewan River Valley and the ravine system, development of stormwater management facility, and protection of a pipeline corridor, Starling. Exempted by Councillor Knack. Councillor Knack, do you need a presentation?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. Then the folks in favor are to answer questions only,
And I have a few.
and
for
no
them.
one is in opposition. So at this time, we can go to questions to from Knack, Councillor Knack, to the applicant, right?
That would be wonderful.
Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
please. Yeah.
Yes. Let them all get settled in. Thanks, everyone, for coming, and a few questions for you, and many of them will be repeated to everyone here in administration, but just as you know, there's been a lot of chat. So the actual land use application, I haven't heard any concerns from any residents at all. That part is peace. But tied to this land use application is the transportation piece, so that way hopefully we're all in line here, is that a couple of years ago, City of Min had made a decision to not allow any further residential expansion in this area until we had a game plan for the roadway, because 199th Street and 137th Ave is not the safest of roads if you're traveling in that area, and so this application does come with a requirement to do upgrades to that road. So I just, maybe if you could talk a little bit about this. So this, you are now going to be essentially building a new roadway from 199th Street at Blackbird Link all the way up to Ray Gibbon Drive. Is that correct?
Correct. I wonder if we could, a map. Fazil, do you have one?
Sure.
handy?
If you go to slide 3, we can look at a visual of it.
Fantastic. There we are. So that roadway, you're going to be doing an angled roadway now through land that, do you have that land yet, or is that still to be acquired? Still working on sorry, your microphone, just in case that.
Oh, that land is still to be acquired.
Okay. But based off what you're doing right now and what you're looking at, the plan for completing these upgrades, the turn bay is scheduled to be done this year. That's correct?
Correct, fall of 23.
Okay. Then you would start some of the work on the new roadway running through Starling Drive up to 199th Street before you would start any upgrades. Is that on the 199th, 137th?
There's two parts. So there's the current roadway through Starling Drive, which isn't where it says shared pathway on the right-hand side. So we would complete the loop that connects through that red zone where it says top of bank shared youth pathway. And that would give an alternate access in and out for the residents of Trumpeter. And in the same period, we would be completing the 45-degree angle red roadway that between 137 and 199th Street without impacting 137 Ave or 199th Street. Then at such time that those roadways the roadway to the south was open, so there's accessibility through the neighborhood, and the red 45-degree angled roadway was 99% complete. We would then tie it into 137 Ave and 199th Street, having to close those roadways temporarily, but trying to minimize that impact.
Perfect. So then just to make sure I'm clear, generally speaking, 199th and 137th as currently designed will remain open for most of the construction of that new upgraded roadway because you are working in a completely different area, correct?
Correct.
So there will ideally be, for most of the time, 2 access points still for residents from Trumpeter to get over to Ray Gibbon Drive. So hopefully they'll still primarily look to use 199th and 137th, but there will also be the requirement for you to have an access on Starling Drive.
Correct. And if
X.
ideally the engineers can work to keep all the roadways open at the same time. We
Excellent.
would ideally work to that.
And again, there will have to be some point, likely a limited amount of time that you do that. Okay, that's helpful. I think that's good news for a lot of folks in the neighborhood, because the other question I wanted to ask is just around, I think we're good on the map because I don't know how much time I have now. There we go. Thank you. Is for that limited amount of time then that you might have to close the other roadway, there is concern around what that means for speeding, all of that. We run into that issue on every single collector road, but since you are going to be building the remainder of this new collector road, are you thinking about how that road might be built with traffic calming measures independent of the road construction, but just generally speaking to help ensure folks aren't using that as a shortcut through the neighborhood?
Currently, the road is owned by the City of Edmonton, so we'd have to work with traffic operations and transportation to come up with a plan to mitigate speed and to enhance sort of safety. So that would be our goal.
I will ask them about that when the time comes, because we have seen in some new neighborhoods where we're doing things like traffic circles and sort of modified versions of traffic circles to help with that. So I'll ask about that. Let's pull up the list from the residents. Sorry, everyone. This has just been a long one for residents in the area about that road, so I have lots of questions. Yeah, I'll just need another round, sorry.
I'll move second round.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I should have clicked it. Councillor Salvador, can you take the chair,
Yes, I have the
please?
chair.
Yeah. So I am looking at the administration's presentation. I'm looking at the map that identifies the site, and Horseshoe Creek is included in that. There's a large number of trees there, and the number of trees along 199th Street and the pipeline corridor, right? Just want to get a sense, do you keep track, or do you kind of have some sense how many trees will be removed, and how will you compensate for those removal of the trees on a overall? Would you have more trees planted, or would you have less trees in the area with the removal of the trees along these three sites, or three locations within the site?
Within the ER and the pipeline corridor, we are not removing any trees.
Okay, good.
Within that. Within the residential uses, yes, those trees are being removed. We would have liked to have kept them, but just grade-wise, it was not, we were unable to keep them, so.
So you'll be removing trees along the Horseshoe Creek?
Not along Horseshoe Creek,
Okay,
no.
and so you'll be removing along 199th Street, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And do you know how many trees you'll be planting in order to compensate for the loss of trees?
We're meeting the standards of the City of Edmonton to replant the trees. I couldn't tell you the number off the top of my head.
Oh, so you would know whether it'll be more or less, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, I'll maybe ask that question to administration, like how we track and compensate. Okay, all right, that's the question I had. I will move the second round.
Second.
Thank you, and I'll return the chair. Oh, sorry, please vote. On a second round.
Just waiting on 2 votes. Councillor Rice? We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. That is carried. Now I'll return the chair.
Thank you, Councillor Salvador, and I will go to Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. So a few more questions. The bridge that exists on 137th is not also a big point of contention for a lot of residents. So as part of the upgrades that you're doing, what does that include on that site, around the culverts, around all of the roadway design, pavement quality, all of that?
We've been asked to resurface the asphalt part of it to remove sort of the potholes and the bumps out of it, so that's the plan as well.
Okay, so, but it will be, because I think, and maybe this will be a question for administration, because I understand that's sort of like a slick oil, it's not the same sort of urban style roadway that we use for the rest of the area. So is that being upgraded to that sort of urban standard, or is it more of you're just required to do some basic preliminary upgrades on that?
Not being upgraded to a curb and gutter standard, but
Okay.
being upgraded to that slick oil that
Yeah.
is being removed and replaced with an asphalt surface.
Oh, okay,
That is-
that's good. No curb and gutter there. What about for the rest of the new roadway that you're building? Because that's something that came up from folks.
We've not been asked to
Okay.
upgrade.
Because there will
parts.
ideally be a permanent road as part of the overall ASP that would be that full roadway.
Correct.
Okay. Any requirement for railings on the north side of that road by the bridge?
Yes, there's been requirements for
Good.
railings as well.
Excellent. Last question that I can think of for you is, I see in green on that map you'd shared, the walkway running from Ray Gibbon Drive to the intersection over at Starling Drive. Is that part of the 2023 work as well?
Correct.
Excellent. So there will be a true safe passageway for residents to be able to access the multi-use trail in St. Albert, because right now they have to sort of walk on this very narrow shoulder to get that.
Correct.
So that's
Yeah,
part of
it'll
the
be-
2023 upgrades. Wonderful. Let me just double check. I think the last question is, no, I think we've got, and again, timeline ideally is everything completed no later than 2025. All of the work done by that point in time, pending acquisition of lands, things like that.
Ideally, it's an aggressive schedule, but
Yep.
ideally. Yeah.
But with the road being able to be maintained open, that also provides a bit of flexibility for folks. Okay. I think I've got all of those questions. Okay, thank you. Sorry for all the questions, but you knew they were coming anyways from the residents. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. Councillor Salvador, can you take the chair?
Yes.
I just want to get, you heard my questions to the applicant, right? How do we keep kind of, maybe, because we don't keep track how many trees we lose to greenfield development, right? Do we keep track how many trees we lose?
No, we don't keep track of the trees we use. The way the plans are delineated, you have the environmental reserve, which is the undevelopable land that we remove from the area as per the MGA. And then of the remaining area, when you're doing the plans, you take the 10% of municipal
Yeah.
reserve, which we're able to then use. So you end up with municipal reserve in the natural areas, and those are the areas in which we can effect some level of protection on the trees or the natural areas. And so from the developable land, we don't currently, to my understanding, count the number of trees that are lost on that.
So do we have a sense that the trees that are required to be planted, I think there's 2 trees need to be planted per dwelling, right? Am I right?
For a single family,
For a single
yes.
family, yeah.
So it depends what type of development is, plus boulevard trees. There isn't a calculation around what's being lost versus what's being planted. As Ann was saying, through that planning phase, we look to acquire natural areas through MR, municipal designation, where it is a substantial tree stand and it's connected to the ecological network. But as you can imagine, we can't acquire everything because we are
Yeah.
limited with 10% of land, which needs to be balanced off with parks, schools, community facilities, and natural areas at the same time.
Do we have a sense that on overall, or do we gain trees or do we lose trees on on a net, right?
I think, sorry, I think it depends on which area you're developing, because the natural area of the land may have been agricultural in nature, or it may have been more treed in nature, and so depending on the land that you're developing, that would be a different answer.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, we do have a sense overall in the entire city. So we do LiDAR data every 4 years, I believe it is. And the latest data shows that we are on track to meet the targets as outlined in the city plan. So we're
Okay.
on track to meet the 2 million trees. We're also on track to meet the 70% tree canopy. So we know that we are losing trees in Greenfield. We're losing trees in infill as well
Yep.
and on private property. But we remain on track to meet the targets that council has set.
so overall, as a city, we are meeting the target, which means having more trees, right?
That's correct.
Okay, okay, good, that's good information for me to understand, so thank you so much for that. And I will take the chair back.
I'll return the chair.
And I'll go to Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. Just very briefly, the new neighborhoods also have landscape requirements in terms of the planting of new trees with homes.
That is correct.
And it's usually, we would anticipate two-ish trees per home.
That's for single family, yes.
Okay, perfect. I did have a question around ecological connectivity. So recognizing that the ravine system is interrupted by the pipeline right-of-way, can you just talk through what the implications of that are in terms of the ecological connectivity? Do we have capacity to renaturalize that portion, or does it have to stay clear in the PU portion?
Councillor Stevenson, the pipeline corridors generally have to stay clear, although they do form part of the overall ecological connection. There's east-west connections, north-south connections. The whole plan was looked at in that vein when it was initially prepared, and it all with a view of tying into the Big Lake ecological area to the north.
Great, and thank you. And just as a reminder, does being within the protection overlay require the top of bank policy as well in terms of the public walkway along these natural areas?
That is correct. Yes, it's surveyed and walked, and there is that top of bank upland setback with the walkway built there.
Great. All my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Can you move the second round?
Happy. I think.
Oh,
I haven't had a first round.
Oh, you haven't had
actually.
I thought you did.
No.
Oh, wait a minute, you didn't. I thought you started with questions. No,
No,
okay.
just of the applicants.
Oh, okay. So I went before you?
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, my mistake.
It's all good.
Okay. All right, Councillor Knack, go ahead.
It's all good. This is
Yeah.
we're all just getting work done. It's okay. Thank you. So again, Mr. Saeed, you and I get to chat a lot about this. Let's talk a little bit about. I had a few scattered questions for the applicant, but can you just walk me through sort of a quick summary of what we would expect of the new roadway along 199th from Blackbird Link up to 137th Ave? So basic things like, is it 4 lanes versus 2 lanes? I've heard we don't need curb and gutter, but we might need railings. There will be a turn bay at 137. Can you just walk me through sort of that whole roadway and what the new plan of action is?
Sure. If we can have the slide back, please. So I'll just start with the zoning itself. As you mentioned that no concerns as such, but I will highlight that as part of this review, we did look at the total approvals in this area and the threshold and reviewed it in detail to see whether we can support the zoning or not. So I'll just put that out. In terms of improvements, yes, there will be permanent improvements along 199th Street, which is as per the network identified through the neighborhood structure plan. So it will be urbanized road, and as it connects to 137 Avenue, there will be some interim upgrades as mentioned by the applicant as we are going through the Alta Link corridor into that area. In addition to that, we have heard a lot of complaints around the safety at 137 and Ray Gibbons, so there will be a right-turn bay constructed. There will be pedestrian accommodation along 137th Street, along the northern edge. In addition to that, I think an important piece of completion through this subdivision will be the completion of Starling Drive as it connects to 199, completing that loop. And I think you had some questions around the design of that roadway. So as that roadway will serve the future school site, which is slated to be to the south of the zoning area, those considerations, whether we are looking at safe crossings, bulb outs, and all those considerations through safe mobility group will be identified as part of the detailed design.
So just on that, I'll just jump in. So that would mean, generally speaking, now as we look at new neighborhood designs and new road designs around new neighborhoods, especially around schools, raised crosswalks, curb extensions, all of those are built in sort of at the beginning of this work. That we wouldn't identify it and then only do it 10 years later. If we're building it now, that would sort of be an expectation now. Is that fair?
That's correct.
Which has an in-turn benefit if folks were thinking of shortcutting that would ideally discourage that from happening because that would already be in place then.
True, and given the context of how this neighborhood is positioned, highly unlikely that shortcutting will happen through this neighborhood, but generally speaking, yes.
Yeah, it's fair to ask, because the rest of Starling Drive was built sort of under our old standards, where it's a very wide collector road like many other new neighborhoods, and it is already a concern, so we're going to work on that independent. Okay, perfect. So you mentioned the interim upgrades along, so essentially what I want to make sure I understand is that from Ray Gibbon Drive to the west, up until about that bridge, the road will look, generally speaking, like it is now. So the same lane configuration as we have today. As we hit the bridge, same two-lane structure, but no longer that oily road that causes a lot of frustration. That is now a requirement to be upgraded, correct?
Correct.
Perfect, along with a railing regardless still.
That's correct.
As it makes that 45-degree angle turn again, is it meant to be currently a sort of a two-lane arterial leading into 199th, or is that going to be upgrade to the full four-lane urban standard?
So that is currently part of the design review that is being done, because we are holistically looking at the whole network for this area, whether 137 needs to be a 4-lane or a 3-lane roadway, that is to be determined.
Yeah, because the province still, when they approved the funding for Ray Gibbon Drive upgrade with St. Albert, was originally suggesting that they would close down that intersection and we would be using sort of Leclerc Way as the way through to this. So that's part of what you have to define. You might not want to overbuild that road if the province is going to ask us to close it down anyway.
That is correct.
But we could still use it for pedestrian upgrades and everything that we're already doing. That's okay. The other question I'll ask, and I'll just need a second round actually, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, second order moved by Councillor Rutherford, second by Councillor Salvador. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. All right, Councillor Knapp.
Thanks, Mayor.
Start
Sorry.
the clock again,
Yeah,
please.
sorry everyone for asking.
No, go ahead.
Nobody registered to speak, but they just asked me to ask these
No,
questions.
please, don't feel bad about it. You have to ask those questions. Yeah.
The culvert piece, there was some concern about it being undersized right now. Is there any requirement from, I'm maybe not looking, I'm looking further back around the drainage side of things, that culvert upgrades on that?
Councillor Knack, correct. The culvert right now is undersized. It's going to be replaced by two 900 culverts, which after modeling, it's been determined that's the appropriate size for it.
And that's part of essentially the body of work that's going to be required as part of this application?
As part of this development.
Excellent.
We are reviewing the designs as we speak.
Yeah, so you'll fine tune what the design is, but essentially there has to be an upgrade to that. Okay. The last question the last sort of very localized question is that new pathway that's going to be connecting Ray Gibbon to essentially Starling Drive, maybe two questions. Is it essentially only wide enough for a sidewalk, or are we going to at least it's a multi-use trail at the Ray Gibbon Drive section, everyone's sort of going to use it anyways, walking and biking, is it wide enough to have a official multi-use trail, or is it more going to be one of those locations that's just signed for it because of a narrow corridor?
So, sorry, so I'm clear, you're talking about the piece that is just west of Ray Gibbon Drive?
Yeah, so what the new walkway that'll be on the north side of the road running from Ray Gibbon to Starling Drive, is that essentially it didn't say shared use pathway like the other parts did, and I imagine that's likely due to the current narrowness of that right-of-way. So is it likely only going to be as wide of as a sidewalk right now?
That's correct. It's going to be 1.8 meters.
We could still be recognizing that folks are going to be biking, sign it as a multi-use trail, recognizing we normally wouldn't want to do that, but folks are biking to that space because Ray Gibbon Drive in St. Albert has a beautiful multi-use trail system. So that's something you would look at as part of that work too.
That's correct, yeah.
Great. Will there be a crosswalk requirement at Starling Drive and 137th, since that is a fairly busy connector road right now?
Yes, the moment we introduce a pedestrian desired line, then some improvements, mitigation measures will occur at that intersection to accommodate.
Okay, so we're looking not just at painted lines, we might do a bulb out, we might do something that requires a slightly higher standard, because that's of the roadway configuration?
So bulb out in this case where we already are constrained on the road right of way won't necessarily, I don't think so we'll
Sure.
be able to manage that, but curb ramps comes to mind so
Okay.
that there is no obstruction for
Great.
any age and ability.
That's awesome, thank you. Maybe the last question, because I feel like I got to ask Ms. McCabe some questions before she goes. And because you had been doing some work, and so if others want to answer, but I know in particular you've been doing some work with St. Albert around this ASP and the land use, and I just wanted to get a sense of broadly, there is a bit of uncertainty around actually fulfilling what's within the ASP, and so what is the relationship right now with St. Albert on those lands, and how are we working together with them on land use planning?
It's quite good right now. We are working together at the table, working on a framework to figure out how to plan that area.
Okay, so that work is ongoing. There's not,
ongoing,
yeah.
yeah.
That's perfect. I think we did it. Just going through the list. Oh, maybe the last question is recognizing the roadway piece has been so of interest. Again, the way it's being designed is that these roadway upgrades are, maybe a condition of the building permits that might be issued. That's how we know that they'll be able to meet these timelines, right? I mean, recognizing there's always some uncertainties, but that 2025 piece is tied to something, correct?
That is all tied to a subdivision approval.
Yeah.
That is in place.
So there'd be no way for them to start being able to build their homes, other than maybe prepping the land, without being required to do this roadway work.
That's correct.
Music to my ears. Excellent. Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. So that concludes the questions to administration. And at this time, I will ask if council members have any questions or any further questions arising out of the new any new information arising out of the previous discussion. Any questions? Any new information? Seeing none, we are ready to close the public hearing.
I'll move closer to the public hearing.
All right. Need a seconder?
Second.
Councilor Salvador. So please vote for the closing of the public hearing on item 3.3.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. Vote is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move first reading of item 3.3.
Councilor Salvador.
Second.
Second. Okay, please vote.
Oh, sorry, just.
Oh, you want to speak?
For fun.
Councilor Knack, go ahead, please.
Why speak to a
No.
small rezoning application?
No,
but here's
go
why.
ahead, please, yeah.
So for everyone who hasn't been here, the reason why this is such an interesting one for me, 199th Street and 137th Ave was never supposed to be the permanent roadway in and out of this neighborhood or this area structure plan, except there had been a non-participating landowner that looked like they were going to forever and always be a non-participating landowner, and so we ran into a point that there are now, I think 5,000 people in Trumpeter, we're 4,000 in Starling, and those roadways are over capacity, and I think we officially said they were unsafe at a previous public hearing last term. Or I'll say that because they weren't very safe. They weren't upgraded roadways. And so we didn't have a mechanism to actually address these roads. We were waiting on potentially the sale of land that might never happen. So that's why I've been asking all of these questions, because for the residents there, this is a very unsafe roadway, in particular during the winter, and that there's this nasty bridge that's an oil-based roads, and folks are actually, even while they drive carefully, they have had many accidents. So this has probably been one of the biggest concerns for residents in the area of wanting to know when this is being upgraded. So just want to thank City Min, because actually done a wonderful job of getting us to the point where we had these requirements built in. I want to thank the applicants as well. They've been very diligent in responding to a lot of my messages on behalf of residents. So thank you for this. I know they're going to be looking forward to it. And to the residents who I know are listening, we're finally doing it. So I'll happily support this, encourage you to support this, so we can both get some new housing in that area, but more importantly, get these really needed upgrades in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Knack. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move second reading of item 3.3.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move consideration of third reading on item 3.3.
Second.
Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
And Mayor Sohi, I'll move third and final reading of Charter Bylaw 20494.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. So we have dealt with 3.3. Next one is 3.8, Charter Bylaw 20501, to allow for medium-rise multi-unit housing, Glenora, exempted by Councillor Knack. We have here we go. Okay. I will check. I know Michelle Olette was here. She is here. Janice LeBlanc is here. I'll check again if David Johnson is joining us. David Johnson? No. And Mary Clonferro is here and joining us in person. And at this time, I will go to administration for a presentation. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Oh, I'll just wait. Here we go. This application proposes to rezone 3 lots in the Glenora neighborhood from the RF1 single detached residential zone to the RA8 medium rise apartment zone. The RA8 would allow for an approximately 6-story building intended for residential uses with limited commercial opportunities at ground level. Next slide, please. The site is located on the corner of Stony Plain Road and 136th Street, directly across from open space and the Glenora School. Stony Plain Road will contain the future Valley Line West LRT line, with the Glenora stop being located less than 5 minutes walking distance or 280 meters away. Other notable active modes of transport within close proximity include a rapid bus route along 102nd Avenue and bike routes along 136th Street and 102nd Avenue. Future bike routes are also planned further west on 102nd Avenue and along 142nd Street. Next slide, please. The proposed rezoning would allow for a taller building when compared to the current surrounding context of small-scale buildings. Being located on a corner and directly across from the school, the site has the benefit of being surrounded by roadways and open space. This creates a natural buffer between this site and surrounding properties. This helps reduce the massing impacts from a larger building. The most sensitive edge is to the west, abutting a smaller scale building. To help mitigate the impacts from the RA8 zone requires a 3-meter interior side setback and an additional 3-meter step back above 14.5 meters or 4 stories in height. These regulations will help establish a more sensitive transition between the proposal and the abutting property. Next slide, please. The city engaged the public through a mailed notice, information on the city's website, site signage, and online engagement. While the majority of responses were in opposition, we did hear support for the proposal as well. Concerns we heard related to a building of this size being out of scale and context with the existing low-scale neighborhood, interfering with the area's historic character and Garden City suburb aesthetic, and that it would increase parking and traffic congestion on the surrounding road network, as well as the potential for damage from vibrations from future construction. Those in support referenced to the location as advantageous for families due to its proximity to both Glenora and Westminster schools, the bike lanes, and the River Valley, as well as leveraging stronger ridership for the future Valley Line West. Next slide, please. In the context of the city plan, the site is located along the Stony Plain Road primary corridor. Primary corridors are expected to be prominent streets that support living, working, and moving, and this is achieved through mid and high-rise built forms. As the proposed RA8 would allow for the development of a mid-rise building, it aligns with the direction of the city plan and will facilitate the development of the Stony Plain primary corridor. The Carruthers caveat often comes up when discussing land use changes in Glenora. To be clear, the caveat does not restrict council's ability to rezone the land, and it is not a factor in administration's planning analysis. The caveat is a private agreement between landowners. The city has no role in the interpretation, maintenance, and/or enforcement of upholding such agreements. It relies on landowners and the Provincial Land Titles Office to track and regulate such restrictions. However, council needs to be aware that the caveat could provide an impediment to development if any party of the caveat chooses to enforce their rights under the caveat. Next slide, please. Of the 3 properties involved in this rezoning, the most easterly lot contains the Mayhew residence, which is listed on the city's inventory of historic resources. Next slide, please. In closing, administration supports this application. It increases residential density near a future LRT stop. It supports intensification along a primary corridor in alignment with the city plan. And the massing impacts of a larger building are mitigated through setback and step-back regulations. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. Now we will go to folks in favor. I'll invite Michelle Ouellette and Jason LeBlanc to make presentations if they wish to do so. Each will have 5 minutes. Start with Michelle Ouellette.
Thank you and good afternoon. I just have to share my screen here.
Michelle, you're unable to share your screen. Have you submitted a presentation?
No.
We can send you details to email it to us if that's helpful, and then we can present it from council chambers.
Okay, I apologize. I just am used to that button popping up.
Mayor, so we can work to collect the presentation from Michelle Ouellette if you wanted to start with the next speaker.
Okay, Michelle, is it okay that, are you kind of sequencing your presentation with Jason's presentation, or can Jason go first?
Yeah, I mean, we were going to present sort of our planning rationale and the development proposal and then follow up with questions and Jason's presentation. It won't take too long for me to share it, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll give her. Yeah, can you email that quickly, please? Yeah, okay.
We've just sent you an email, Michelle.
Okay, Chris, it is on the way.
We haven't got it yet, Michelle.
Mayor Sohi and council, it's Jason LeBlanc here. In the interest in respecting everybody's time, I can proceed with my presentation. It's just a quick narrative on how my wife and I got to this point.
Okay, go ahead, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi and councilors, for allowing me to speak in regards to our proposed rezoning application. I thought it was prudent to provide City Council and my Glenora neighbors with some context and narrative as to why we are applying to rezone the properties in Glenora. My wife and I have greatly enjoyed living in this neighborhood for approximately 20 years. We work, shop, frequent many businesses in the area and created many friends who also reside in the neighborhood. Admittedly, when we heard about the LRT line coming down Stony Plain Road, directly in front of our properties, we were concerned and apprehensive as to how the significant change in our neighborhood would affect our lifestyle and our property value. However, after reviewing the overall city plan for this project and how the city is growing and the response required, we understand its necessity. The new LRT line signifies how the city is responding to its rapid growth and future. That in turn has led us to respond accordingly with this proposed rezoning. We understand the current positive migration the city is currently experiencing, and the projection for further new residents seems to be maintaining or exceeding the estimated pace. Our goal is, if successful, is to create a vibrant project that responds to the city plan and new LRT that provides a variety of offerings for potential new tenants that seems to be missing in Glenora. This project hopes to create accessibility for new families, professionals, seniors, and students to live in the Glenora neighborhood. We also respectfully acknowledge the Mayhew residents as being on the inventory list. This house was placed on the inventory list by the previous owner and not us. We have taken steps to get an understanding of the cost of repairs and the grants available to do so. However, the money needed to repair this house to the standard required is not viable due to the existing estimated property value weighed against the cost of repairs. We hope this provides some context as to how we arrived at this point and greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much, Jason. Now I will go back to Michelle. I don't think we got the presentation, but we got it? Okay, we got it, okay.
Thank you for your patience, Mayor Sohi and members of council. Some of our presentation will echo the administration's report, so we won't spend too much time on this. And I thank you to Jason for going ahead in the interest of time. The first slide, next slide, please. Thank you, Chris. So the proposal, as administration outlined, is to rezone a series of 3 properties on Stony Plain Road from RF1 to RA8. And this would facilitate multi-unit housing development. And the site is on a corner, as we see there, at 136th Street, across from the Glenora School. And the site area is approximately 0.2 hectares. Next slide. And so some of the features of the RA8 zone, which were modified slightly through amendments to be more compatible with mature neighborhoods and single detached communities. The side yard requirement is for 3 meters up to 14.5 meters. And then above that, there's additional step backs required. The front yard would be 6 meters. The rear yard is 7.5 meters. And now, because this is a corner site, there are some opportunities for creativity when it comes to the separation space with the adjacent single detached residential dwelling to the west, such as making that the rear yard and the front yard being on 136th Street, wrapping around Stony Plain Road, and then having that lane to the south provides additional separation space. So I think during the design stage, there's some opportunities there to look at how it is sited best with the adjacent use. Next slide, please. Again, here are the 3 dwelling units existing on the corner. To the east, there's an additional boulevard space and the Glenora School there. These homes were constructed in 1949, 1950. And that's about it here. So next slide. And just in terms of amenities, ensuring that the community is livable for new residents that might move to this location. Obviously, the site is adjacent to the LRT corridor, which provides LRT access, as well as to the south on 102 Avenue. There's many options for cycling, walking, major bus corridor service. This site is also walkable to the River Valley Ravine system, just south of 102. And there's a community hall, several schools in the area, as well as shops and services. People can walk to enjoy themselves along that corridor in the area. And it's interesting that this is actually a site that's right between 2 LRT stops. Next slide, please. And just to address the heritage building, I know Jason mentioned this, as well as it was well articulated in the administration report that there's some trade-offs with respect to this particular structure and the implementation of city plan, as well as goals around gentle intensification of mature neighborhoods. The existing bungalow was on the inventory, and we did meet with administration several times to talk about this and, you know, what sort of the options were. And basically, it's not financially viable to retain. So we decided to move forward with the zoning. Next slide. And so, as was highlighted, this is a primary corridor, and many of the policies in the city plan support some gentle intensification of mature communities in sites that are appropriate along major corridors, primary or secondary, as well as supporting that mode shift from vehicles to other modes of transportation. Next slide. Just to conclude, the development does provide for compatible and strategic densification on a primary corridor, as well as the LRT. Future residents have access to numerous parks, the River Valley schools, amenities, as well as those other alternate transportation options. and the development supports implementation of the city plan policies and is compatible with the adjacent use. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, questions, colleagues, to Michelle and Jason Consternack.
Thanks, Mayor Sohi, and thanks for the presentations. A few questions. So, again, this proposal has an underground parkade as part of it. There was a number of residents who did reach out. The most common concern I had was whether there would be parking or not, and this one is proposing that for 40 stalls, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct, Councilor Knack. Approximately 42 stalls.
Okay. Now, what we're about to hear from one of our other speakers is that if you do an underground parkade, well, I think that alleviates a number of concerns from other residents. There are concerns about what that means for the resident immediately to the south, who will have some. I won't speak for her, but we've played a bit of phone tag, so we didn't get a chance to chat. But I imagine that's going to be a concern raised about as that work is happening. What does that mean for the property, because doing an underground parkade is not insignificant work, and some of these homes have been around for a long time. And how do you plan to work if this were to be approved? What does that look like in terms of engagement with the neighbor? How you're setting up for success, so that, or at the same time not creating harm to the property to the south?
Thanks for the question. The last thing we want to do is, put anybody under duress or have them worry about their own home. Absolutely the last thing we want to happen. We are more than happy to work with our neighbor to ensure that those issues are mitigated and her residence remains as is.
Okay. And you mentioned you're in the neighborhood, so I don't know if you're living in any one of these three sites or in a different part of Glenora, but would you sort of expect that you would be sitting down with these neighbors who are close by as you're going through construction? Because as you know, Glenora's gone through a lot of newer home developments, and some builders are very good at engaging their neighbors and some not so good, and I just wanted to get a sense of how you would try to approach that.
Absolutely. We'd sit down with everybody in the proximity and make sure there's a plan in place with some professionals there to essentially understand how to shore up correctly and ensure that nobody's home is damaged throughout this process.
Okay. I wanted to ask a little more. I know our other speaker who had registered was likely going to chat a bit about the heritage piece, and so I was hoping to get a better understanding of that one home, the Mayhew residence, and can you go into a little more detail about what that looked like and why ultimately you came to the decision that you felt there wasn't independent of this application? It sounds like you don't really feel it's viable to retain that no matter what, and I was just hoping to get a better sense of why that's the case.
Yeah, after speaking with the heritage planner, and getting to have a better understanding of the grants available, we brought some professionals in there, third parties, to essentially have a look and understand what it would actually, have an estimate of what it could potentially cost to get that back to the standard the city be requiring. And based on the overall estimated value of that property right now, based on the dollar of the grant amount, there's a lot of that house hasn't been very well maintained prior to us purchasing it. So, windows, electrical, structural issues, stucco on the outside. There's a lot of things going on there that unfortunately just take that grant money and inflate it to the point where it's just not viable.
Okay. I guess I wanted to just ask, you mentioned since you are a Glenora resident, I think one of the most common concerns that comes up from residents in the neighborhood is the retention, or rather lack thereof retention, the lack of retention for heritage homes. And so I guess I just wanted to get your take on this. I mean, obviously you're here with a rezoning application that includes that would include the demolition of a heritage site. At the same time, I often hear pretty loud and clear about the desire from residents in the area to retain heritage sites. And so you mentioned you went through, you did some analysis. Is there any other, I guess I'm trying to figure out how do we work to try to retain these types of homes for a community that has been very vocal about the desire to see it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a financial situation. I think, if those grants were inflated dramatically, then it would give us a chance to actually really explore it and see if we could do it. It's going to sound contradictory, but I'm actually all for preserving the correct homes that reside in this community.
Okay. All right, I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knapp. Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, just quick questions. So if this zoning is approved today, can you just walk me through your timelines in terms of development applications and when you're hoping to start construction?
I would think, it'd be probably at least a year of planning, and then potentially another 24 months of construction after that, once we receive development and building permits. So I would estimate a 3-year plan.
Okay. And are you planning any commercial on the main floor?
No, at this point, we're not contemplating any
Just
commercial.
fully residential?
Fully
Okay.
residential.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Salvador, can you take the chair, please?
Yes, I have the chair.
Yeah, I'll go to Michelle Olette. I'm just trying to understand how many units could possibly be built with 6-story, or any, like, what is or are planned to be built? You have any sense?
Well, just based on Jason's test fit, there's 56 total unit, sort of in a sketch, what could fit in the volume. And then, there's room for some 3-bedroom units, perhaps around the base, and some other, 1 and 2-bedroom units. So it's been fitted out to have 56 approximately.
Because the reason I'm asking is that I was just I just want to know, what came into my mind was when I heard about 42 stalls, right, being built along a corridor that is served with LRT, with bus service, right? And I was thinking more about affordability, right, because stalls are very costly. So I just wanted to get that sense. So it'll be probably half a stall per unit?
It's about 0.67, so if we had, 37 residential and then some surface stalls, so 45 stalls to approximately 56 units, it's about 67%.
Is
But,
that
in terms of multimodal, I think, that's achievable, and at the development permit stage, obviously Jason's gonna look with a finer pen and design this building with some more refinements. And I think there's options for, less parking on this site versus, having that multimodal opportunity. I mean, if any site in the city is wrapped with opportunities for multi-use trails, river valley trails, bike lanes, bus and LRT service, I feel like this is really a center of excellence when it comes to multimodal.
Absolutely, that's what I'm trying to understand. Isn't it contradictory then, like you're having stalls and have a multimodal corridor, right? So that's what I'm trying to understand. The contradiction.
So I think, Jason can address this in more detail, but I think for saleability of a project, you want to have some on-site parking for convenience and ensuring there's places for bicycles to park securely underground and things like that, or extra storage. So, Jason, did you have any more comments about sort of the magic parking ratio? I don't hear Jason, but
Can you comment on the shadowing, please, Michelle? Because I see a huge impact of shadowing on, particularly across the Stony Plain Road.
Jason, did you want to speak to the parking question first?
Sorry about that, I was muted. Mayor Sohi, the cost of those stalls are very expensive to construct. And honestly, the less of them that have to be constructed, the better. So I think that number of, 40, 45 stalls that you're hearing is just essentially what will fit on the site.
Okay. On the shadowing?
On the parking question, sorry.
Yeah. Michelle, you want to comment on the shadowing part? I see administration's report, there's huge shadowing impact on surrounding communities, residences,
Yes,
sorry.
Mayor Sohi, when we did the shadow analysis, I mean, it just depends on which time of the day and how speedy the shadow moves. However, being located on the south side of Stony Plain Road and 136th Street, the shadow is mainly going to be cast over those main arterial lanes, the LRT and the local roadway 136th Street. So there's a quite broad area where there's no impact at all. The shadows do move across the horizon depending on the time of year. Jason, you modeled these, so I'm wondering if you have any comments about sort of that shadow impact?
Essentially just echoing your statement, you know, based on the location of it in the corner, it's as advantageous as it can get to essentially minimize the amount of shadowing.
Okay, all right, so that, I will take the chair back.
I'll return the chair.
All right, so that concludes the questions to the proponent. Thank you so much for joining us. At this time, we will go to members of the community who are in opposition to this application. But before I go to Mary Conferro, I just want to check again if David Johnson is joining us. David, you are here. Come on, please. Can you please come up? Right? Thank you for joining us. We call your name a few times, so thank you so much for. Can you go grab a chair along with the Mary on the. Okay, and is there any specific sequence both of you want to go in, or does it matter? Doesn't matter? Okay, we'll start with David Johnson then. First, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Sorry for being late. I thought this would go into the afternoon if I follow along with some of the council meetings I've attended. And thank you very much for your time and attention. And I'm speaking neither in favor of nor in opposition of this bylaw. I see its approval pretty much as a foregone conclusion. Probably you'll pass this bylaw proposal unanimously. We only need to look back at the similar bylaw process for the nearby 13802, 13806, 102nd Avenue proposal a few months ago. I live in a designated municipal heritage resource. I have decades of valuable dealings with city planners, which have been mutually beneficial and respectful throughout. I know and respect members of your planning staff. But I have also attended and addressed several council meetings in the past few years, and my experiences have not been as positive. The members of your planning staff who prepare the reports for rezoning applications are clearly in the thrall of the infill development industry. They always recommend acceptance of rezoning, and you always approve it. I was told point blank at a public council meeting by one city planner that if she could approve a multi-unit rezoning on every corner in my neighborhood, that's what she would do. But what's more important and critical at this time is the total lack of consideration for our current and ongoing climate emergency. Greasing the wheels for the development industry, regardless of the impact on our green canopy, will lead us unnecessarily into further catastrophe and unimaginable cost. Indiscriminate infill must be replaced with a balanced, thoughtful approach. Will it create obstacles for developers? Inevitably, yes. But will it create a better product, more attractive to incoming residents and to visitors to our beautiful city? That is another emphatic yes. Planting trees on public land, some of which may live to give us shade a few decades from now, is not the answer. We need to protect our green investment now. Everywhere we can, public land, private land, wherever it's found. If we continue on our current unbalanced approach, in 2 years' time there will be two election issues that will resonate with many Edmontonians: respect for taxpayer concerns and the climate emergency. You have incredible challenges to face through your terms as mayor and council. So many priorities, often in conflict with one with another. In future, I'm hoping that council develops a broader analytic for this type of rezoning and development application, asking for information in response to the following questions. Are there other development opportunities within walking distance of this site and the LRT line if applicable and depending on the neighborhood, that do not require removal of mature trees? Second, what is the impact on Edmonton's environment required for this project? Third, can we meet densification objectives in this way in more sustainable, environmentally conscious ways? Just considering today's bylaw, I can answer the first two questions categorically. 5 blocks away, at the corner of 142nd Street and Stony Plain Road, one corner has a multi-unit development already, another has two high-rises in place now with 2 more in planning, and the other 2 corner lots are currently vacant with not a tree in sight. There are currently 18 mature trees on this proposed site, all at least 40 feet tall, with many smaller trees and shrubbery. One of the 3 properties is in fact a green oasis. And the mid-rise building proposed, as shown on city diagrams, will leave room for none of this. We are seeing the groundswell of a movement calling for respect for taxpayer concerns and climate change initiatives. Smarter Infill YEG already has membership and support in the majority of neighborhoods within the Henday Ring, generated in a matter of a couple of months. This is not a NIMBY nuisance to be tolerated and dismissed by superficial research, analysis, and one-track planning. This is the voice of a growing number of Edmontonians who only have the best interests of all Edmontonians at heart, long-term residents and newcomers alike. Smarter Infill YEG has studied the over 800-page draft zoning proposal. It has the knowledge, training, and experience to work with the staff and council on a value-added basis to make Edmonton a better place to live for all. I'll finish with a legacy question to council. In 10, 20, or 100 years' time, do you want to be known as the council that bulldozed the green investment and heritage of generations of Edmontonians for apartment buildings, when a few steps away there are much more sustainable, already clear lots? Or as the council that faced the climate emergency head-on and coalesced broad-based interests to develop creative housing options, keeping our city beautiful and safe? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us, David. Next, we'll go to Mary Clon Farrell. Thank you so much for waiting, and go ahead, please.
Good morning, Honorable Mayor and councillors. This is my first time in council, so I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. I'm here today because for 22 years I've lived in the house immediately south of the proposed building. So my property runs along the entire length of the development, only separated by an alley. I have a presentation here, so maybe next slide.
Here we go. Go ahead, please.
Thank you.
You got it here now.
I believe administration did an excellent job listing the pros and cons of the development. What I think I can add is some anecdotes and personal insights of what it is like to live in the location and the potential impacts I see with the proposal. Hopefully this will help explain why I believe a lower density and height would be in the best interest of the community. In other words, an RF2 to 5 rather than an RA8. As some background, I did review the city plan. I'd like to say I'm not opposed to high-density housing, and I feel I understand the vision of the key corridors supporting the future LRT. But I noticed the plan also talks about creating concentrations that are logical within a district, and that the vision would not stray from putting people first and creating a safe, walkable city. Next slide. This development and my house are situated on one block with Stony Plain on one side and 102nd on the other. Both are extremely busy roads, especially during rush hour, and there's a highly used bike lane on 102nd Street. My house faces the Glenora Elementary School. In the morning and in the evening, I see over 40 to 50 cars coming from Stony Plain, 102nd, and through my back alley. And they're dropping off children. I've been broadsided twice and rear-ended twice. My fence in the alley has been knocked down not once, but 3 times from this traffic, and incidentally not repaired. Unfortunately, on the corner of 136th Street and Stony Plain Road, I witnessed 1 fatality and 2 serious accidents requiring hospitalization. And that's just what I witnessed. Adding to this commotion, increased traffic from 136th Street being designated as a flow-through street after the LRT is constructed to connect the south and the north side of Stony Plain. Now add to all this the proposed development of over 52 tenants and 42 cars. All of this commotion will happen in one block, so I'm wondering if this is safe. Is it logical? Is it putting the interests of the people first? As an ask, I'm curious if there's an updated traffic impact study for the development that can be performed and be publicly available. Briefly about parking, cars are parked in front of my house during the day, but also at night. It appears current residents have insufficient private parking and need to use the street. I have read that the underground parking will be built, but I question whether visitors or perhaps even the retail customers will have anywhere to park. Next slide. I believe pockets of history and charms create a great city, like Paris, for example, and other visitors and citizens are able to walk and cycle in these beautiful areas. I believe the 13 blocks from 127th Street to 140th Streets are a historical green oasis. On each end of the district are large developments and retail stores, such as the 15-story West Block building with over 20 retail businesses, which I can walk to in 5 minutes. I believe the area around West Block and 124th Street are more sustainable for RA8 developments. And maybe it makes more sense architecturally to rather taper the density into Glenora using RF2 to IF5 zoning. I have seen Glenora successfully achieve higher density. 2 years ago on the west side of my property, they tore down 2 homes and built 4 infills. And kitty corner to the proposed development, there is a building, they're building a duplex. All of these new buildings respectfully honored the architectural style of the neighborhood while achieving higher density. I am concerned that the proposed building is disproportionately high compared to the new buildings, and perhaps a 4-plex or 3-story building would be appropriate. Next slide. With regards to privacy, it would appear the proposed buildings would have multi-units with direct view over the neighboring properties. My concern is people would see our comings and goings and may compromise our safety and privacy. In terms of demolition, the assessment did not, the administration report did not mention how that the demolition, tapping, and digging for the underground parking may impact the structural integrity of the homes. My house is a 1947 single detached home with its original plaster walls and cove ceilings. 2 years ago, the water system was routed in preparation for the LRT, and the severity of the tapping resulted in 83 cracks in the walls, as well as foundation issues. There was also damage due to water. So I'm curious what steps that Jason is sort of outlining that would be taken to mitigate the damage to surrounding homes.
Okay.
Lastly,
Sorry,
okay,
Mary.
thank you. And that's,
You have concluding
thank you for the
remarks? You have any, how much? You have any concluding remarks to make?
Oh, yes, no, I just, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
All right. Thank you so much. Before we go to questions, I want to welcome our neighbors from the surrounding community of Beaumont. Thank you so much for visiting us. From their school is Dancero Meadows, right? And they are here with their teacher, Miss B. Novak. Thank you so much for joining us. What grade are you? It doesn't say. Grade 6. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're enjoying our City Hall. Cool. Are you just here for a little visit, or are you going to stick around? Going to stick around for a couple of hours? All right. Well, it's nice to see you. Yeah. And we'll probably see you in the hallways there, back there. We'll be taking a break in about an hour, if not earlier. If you're not done early, we'll be taking a lunch break at noon. Cool. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Okay, questions. Councillor Knack, you exempted this. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi, and thank you both for coming today. And Mr. Johnson, yeah, you're going over the same struggles we're dealing with. I'll just completely echo the tree canopy one. You probably heard we're going to be debating whether to even begin the formation or the creation of a tree protection bylaw. I'd like to see one. We'll see how that debate goes, and we won't have that debate now at council, but I'll just flag that that's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I'd like to see if we can have that chat. What I do want to ask you about is the point you raised, because it's the one that we struggle with every single day, which is that you specifically said we have so many priorities in conflict with one another, right? Because appreciate there's an impact on that front, and yet we know the greatest impact is continuing to grow out. If we keep growing out, that is far more environmentally unsustainable, that is far more financially unsustainable, that is the worst. In a world, if you had only two choices, that one is the worst because there's just way too much impact. But I get that that creates tension, because if we all agree that we are not going to grow out anymore, and we've said in our city plan we're not growing beyond our boundaries anymore, that means we're going to see change. And even long before my time on council, I mean, for decades, we have generally speaking approved higher forms of density apartment style buildings on arterial roads. That is not an uncommon style of development. Through most of the ward I represent, you can go along the main roads and see apartment buildings. So, I mean, even just in Grosvenor, 8 blocks to the west, they've got the 4-story building right on the corner there. So, I guess I wanted to ask you about that tension, because that is the struggle, right? We're going to constantly be there's always going to be applications before us that help us achieve our broader city-wide goals, while at the same time can often frustrate the local neighbors. And how do we find that balance? Because we can't just build high rises, though. If we only build high rises at West Block and the other corner on the Aldrich site, that doesn't actually give us a range of housing. And so I'm wondering, from your perspective, how you see us trying to fill that gap of both having high rises in places that make sense, having single family homes, and trying to fill in what we do in between, and how you would look at that.
I think there should be a blend of mid-rise buildings in neighborhoods and smaller multi-unit structures on many lots. Don't oppose infill at all. There are lots in my neighborhood that are clear now that would be perfect for, I could name them, I could identify them to you by area, by street and corner, where a mid-rise building would not in any way impact the environment. So I think I'd be looking for a bigger picture analysis. In other words, when you're going to, when there's going to be, as inevitably there must be, mid-rise buildings of the nature that is being described here today, I think there are places where they do not impact the environment, and there's enough of them, even in my small neighborhood, that you could do that, and other areas, other lots where there has to be some concern for the environment.
And I guess the follow-up, okay, I still have a bit of time, is, so in your mind, and maybe asking about this specific site here, so that's what we're dealing with, is that even if we went with the suggestion of a row housing development, realistically there is still a risk that what you've raised today could still happen. I mean, even if we got to a tree protection bylaw, which there's lots to go to that point, there's still the potential of a in-between version of a mid-rise and a single-family home, of a duplex or row housing, that you're still going to run into that. And I'm wondering how you would feel, how do we try to address that, recognizing that that is a challenge either way, I think.
A tree protection bylaw doesn't protect all trees. It just protects a reasonable proportion of them and requires development to be mindful of our green heritage. When plans are being made, when lots are being selected. So I wouldn't imagine that any development on this combination of 3 older lots would save all the trees by any means. Probably just the ones around the periphery, which is where the biggest ones are anyway.
Yeah, and those are the ones primarily along 102nd Ave right now. They've got.
Yeah, well, there are some on 102nd, and there's quite a concentration of them right at the corner.
Yes.
But there are some really big ones on all 3 lots.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, but they're at the periphery.
Yeah, but so then to your point, what you would see either way in any type of development, there's a few that are, I think, in between the lot adjacent to ones that's 36 and the one in between that are in between the property lines that might, they as an example might be ones that, the ones closest to your property you might be able to keep, but the ones that might be more in the building pocket, you would see a scenario where either way that's happening.
We just want a reasonable approach to it. You can't expect 100% retention of trees and also meet densification requirements.
Okay. Oh, I'm out of time. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. Councillor Salvador.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks to our speakers for being here today. Just to build on some of the questions that Councillor Knack was asking, and I'll go to Speaker Johnson first. You mentioned concern around lack of consideration for the climate emergency. At the municipal level, one of the most powerful tools that we have to fight climate change is densification. Would you agree with that?
Densification will minimize expansion outwards, yes. And as I said earlier, I don't oppose densification in any way, shape, or form. I simply think that it should be done in a thoughtful, balanced way to use existing resources like the City of Calgary is doing right now with providing a lot of affordable housing in the central core, using reconfiguration of office buildings. There are options like that. There are, and I'm not a planner and I'm not a specialist, but I simply think that there should be a balanced approach that respects the need for densification and also meets the needs of a green tree canopy. Densification in a heat island is, which is what you would have if you put apartment buildings everywhere, is going to create some really unmanageable and unchangeable impacts on our environment.
Okay, and maybe, because absolutely, I mean, protecting our urban tree canopy and growing our urban tree canopy is absolutely important. I'm not sure quite when you joined, but just even on the last item, we heard from administration that we are on track to meet our canopy targets. And are continuing to invest in the expansion of our urban tree canopy in recognition that it is so important. At the same time, land use and transportation are sort of those two big levers that we have to push on. And when I think about the goals that we've outlined for ourselves in the city plan or the energy transition strategy, it really does point to density. And and we'll get really specific on this site, and maybe I'd ask, this project could unlock many new transit riders. You know, having a lot of folks who are living right next to a brand new LRT line. We heard about how excellent the active transportation connections are in this location, getting people out of personal automobiles and able to take transit on a more regular basis. What are your thoughts around that for reducing emissions?
There are lots of areas in my neighborhood and all over the city that don't have trees on them right now. That would be that are as close to transportation corridors as this lot is. As I said at the top, I don't expect this bylaw to be turned down. I expect it to be passed, but I'm hoping that in future there will be more balance and a bigger analysis, an area analysis as opposed to a lot analysis when this type of project comes up before you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And then maybe just one piece on that, and then I'll ask a few questions around some of the concerns you raised related to taxpayer concerns and the fiscal sustainability of the city. And I guess I would just say, you know what, I'll go to those questions right now, and then I'll save the rest for admin. When it comes to creating a financially sustainable city, and Councillor Knack started to talk about this as well, the further we spread ourselves out, the further we have to extend new roads, infrastructures, new rec centers, transit service. That really drives up the cost, right? So again, how do we get to a place where we are welcoming density when the opportunities arise? Because again, we don't have the ability to say, well, we want this particular lot to redevelop at this particular time. This is the one that's in front of us today. How can we get to a place where we're seeing those connections and seeing the connection between density and fiscal sustainability as a city?
You're probably asking the wrong person. I'm sorry. I'm not a planner. There's a cost to protecting the environment, and I don't think that could be denied. If it means that there have to be modifications in the ability to densify in particular lots or particular areas, I'm afraid that's the cost of protecting the environment.
Thank you, Councillor Salvador. Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, thank you. I think my colleagues have answered or covered some of the questions I had around your comments on climate resilience. I did want to touch briefly, though. You said that you felt the staff were in the thrall of the infill development industry, and I just took a bit of exception to that comment. In my reading, the analysis, what the planners are following is our city plan. So just wondering if you had any further comments on that.
I think that the city plan, it's a good plan, but when I read the reports, and I've read quite a number of them, they don't strike me as being balanced reports that really pay a lot of attention to the concerns of the community. I was involved in a presentation here a year or two ago where we made some pretty what I thought were fairly sound arguments, and the feedback we got based on the planner's report was dismissive.
Yeah, and I appreciate the how frustrating it can feel to feel dismissed. I think that, it's really looking to balance. When we talk about the needs of the community and the feedback of the community, that is what City Plan represents. It is the feedback of many, many Edmontonians, and recognizing that there are some trade-offs there when we're looking at things, which is not much of a question. What do you think could help clarify the intent of City Plan at the site level? Again, you mentioned some of the context analysis. In my reading, the context is that this is a very low density area, that densification is required to move further towards City Plan goals. So just wondering what that additional analysis is that you feel is needed.
There are many locations just in my neighborhood alone that are appropriate and available, or could be available, probably will be available in the short to medium term future for smaller buildings, multi-unit buildings, duplexes, infill homes, all sorts of options that don't involve a six-story building that moves from 3 meters in all directions. In other words, fills the entire lot.
Yeah, and I think when we look at that broader analysis, I think it's a both and. I think all of the sites we need to be seeing this level of development to meet the vision that we've set out in City Plan. Okay, those are all my questions, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Jans.
Just wanted to confirm with our lawyer, is it, who's our counsel today?
We have Ms. Inkpen, Councillor Jones.
I'm sorry, the name again?
Ms. Inkpen.
Ms. Inkpen, are we, when we're looking at a public hearing, are we allowed to consider other adjacent lots or potential nearby? Like, for example, like the speaker is suggesting, if we could say, oh, there's some empty lots here, therefore we should not support this piece and we should upzone those pieces instead? Or like, we are only allowed to upzone those lots when a application comes forward for those lots, right? Or am I misunderstanding that?
You're correct. You're allowed to look at a neighborhood as a whole, Counselor, in a holistic manner. However, there's no application before you today for other lots. What you're looking at today, and I think what you're getting at is that what you're being asked is this an appropriate land use for this location? And that is the question before you today.
Like I get asked don't put it here, put it in the quarters, or put it downtown, or put it on 124th Street. But in this application, am I understanding it that this owner wants to do something different with their property, and that is kind of all we're allowed to consider? We can't sort of, or can we say we're gonna? Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding the scope of the question properly.
Right. So in terms of don't put it here, put it somewhere else, I think very little weight should go to that question. In this particular circumstance, like what is before you, and you have no applications on other land, what is before you is this particular site. And so your focus and your weight should be put on this particular site.
Okay, so if we wanted to put a development somewhere else, a different owner would need to bring forward a different application for that site. Is that correct?
That's correct. And you would be asked at that time if that was an appropriate location for that type of development.
Okay, all right, that's helpful. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Jens. Councillor Tang.
I just want to give some time to Mary. You had, I feel like you didn't quite finish your thoughts at the end there, so I just want to give him a chance to kind of finish any final thought. And I was wondering if you can just reiterate, because I think I may have missed the question that you were wondering regarding, I think it was water, or you were wondering what the developer, if they thought about some of those infrastructure concerns.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think at the end I was talking about the impact to various properties nearby. My house is not only the only historical house on that block. There's one just next to me as well. That's 1942, plaster walls, same thing. I was going to mention that, but I also, just wanted to finish by saying, I am concerned about the equality of, I guess, the desire for a developer to have a high rate of return on their investments, as well as do citizens on their equity of their property. And I'm just wondering if this would devalue a six-story beside the current properties and new infills, if that would devalue the value of those existing properties and new properties that have been built there. If we're looking at this holistically, that's kind of where I'm at, is, we've already started densification in that area. Does it make sense that this be as large as it is? And that's how I was going to conclude it.
Okay, yeah, great, thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like that kind of concern has definitely come up in the past. I'm not sure if there's like conclusive evidence towards that, but I appreciate you finishing your thought. And understandably, there are concerns about change like this that's quite significant in a neighborhood like Glenora. Those were all my questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Councillor Tang. Councillor Salvador. Thank you.
Yes.
Just want to follow up on with question to you, Mary. I absolutely understand the impact, right? And what is compromise in your mind? Like, what do you think needs to? What is acceptable? What is kind of tolerable, right? In your mind.
Yes. Having lived there that long and seeing new developments, yeah. I think a 3-story would be appropriate. And I'm worried about the safety. There is a lot of congestion. It's just one block.
Yeah.
And it's you have 2 major roads in that area. So I think a 3-story duplex, 4-plex. There's a duplex going kitty corner, and they're all very suitable, alternatives.
Okay. We'll ask that in the new information if that is viable for the applicant, because it has to work for them, right? From their investment point of view, and also the cost, right? So, thank you for stating that. On the traffic, there are options or support available for traffic calming and other supports. Are you aware of those that you can access?
I'm not aware of them.
Okay, we'll make sure that people in transportation are listening. If you can connect with them before you leave, they'll be able to connect you to some city staff that can help you with some of the traffic calming measures that you can implement, or they can help implement. Good. I just want to follow up with Mr. Johnson. Thank you for supporting infill, really understanding the value and your commitment to climate change, and asking us to, keep that in mind all the time, the climate emergency. But I find a little bit in what I'm struggling with is, and again, Councilor Knack and Councilor Salvador raised that, we got a letter from our Citizens Advisory Group on climate change, right? And what is the name of that? Energy Transition Advisory Group, right? And they shared some data with us that a household that can be accommodated in a existing neighborhood, their carbon footprint can be somewhere from 35 to 50% less than if they were to live in a suburban community, right? And that's a significant reduction in carbon footprint. I understand the need for preserving trees, but a tree can only store about 21 kilograms of CEO per year, but that reduction per household is in the amount of about 4,500 to 7,500 kilogram per year, right? So that's the balance we're trying to create. Just want to get your thoughts on that.
It's difficult to balance climate concerns. I know that people use energy, and homes use energy. The building with the least climate footprint is the one that's already built. Any opportunities to reuse existing structures are far less damaging to the climate than development. However, development is necessary to accommodate a larger population. Yeah. Totally get that. I'd sort of like to go a little bit towards what Councillor Jans asked, and that is, you are here today to consider one project on one particular parcel of land. Maybe that's the impediment. Maybe there needs to be some modification of the system that's used to evaluate these issues, so that we have a better opportunity to create the densification required and to minimize the carbon footprint. I know not all properties come up for sale at the same time, but that developers are equally interested in all properties. I totally get that. They have various values and costs.
No, thank you. And
anyway,
thank you. We have a target of 500,000 residents to be accommodated within the existing neighborhoods as we grow to a community of 2 million, right? So it's a big, ambitious target, right? So we probably need every property to be densified, right? So we'll ask that question to administration, though. Thank you so much. And I will take the chair back. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jans, you have more questions, right? I'll move the second round, sorry. I'll move
second.
Second round, please vote.
Okay, sorry, mine were for administration. I don't need a second round. My apologies.
Okay, I'll take the chair back then. Okay, all right. Okay, so that concludes the questions to members of the public. Thank you so much for being here. Don't go away yet, because there might be more questions later on arising out of this discussion. Any new information that the council may want to ask about. At this time, we'll go to questions to administration. Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. Ms. Inkman, I wanted to ask you a few questions first, because I know we can't consider the Crothers caveat, but I sometimes feel a little foolish because, there's no high density that gets built. No matter what we've approved, the caveat has prevented any type of additional densification, whether it's a duplex, row housing, or apartment building. And from what so I guess I want to ask you, because while I get why from a planning perspective it shouldn't be considered from the team that's doing that work, I guess I just want to get a sense of, can I even just get a sense of, are you aware of any successful application at the court that has gone against the caveat? Because I'm not.
Not against the Carruthers caveat.
Yeah, because it's pretty firm. As in that there's, unless, it's really only ever going to change unless the owners in all of that area south of Stony Plain Road choose to do something different, correct?
There is developing case law out of the city of Calgary from 2020 where there was a successful challenge of a caveat, or an RC, actually, a restricted covenant.
Okay.
So there may be some opportunity there, but I would hesitate to talk about any of the legal ins and outs
That's
about that
fair,
because it would be a private matter between private parties. So it's important for council to understand that as it regards the caveat, that it could create an impediment to development because there is a conflict between the caveat and the zone that's being proposed today. And that it is a private matter between private landowners. And so just be aware of the caveat and its existence, but it's truly not, the city's not a party to it and wouldn't have necessarily an interest in it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I ask because, like I say, we've been, as long as I've been here, I know there have been, whether it's apartment buildings or even duplexes approved in this area, and none of them have ever been built. And so it sometimes feels a little bit odd, like this has been a really good conversation with our speakers, and yet it probably doesn't matter. So that's part of why I wanted to dig in a little bit further on that, because I imagine even if this is approved, like the one on 138th, or like the duplexes that were approved years ago, it's just not going to change. So, okay, but that's helpful for me. I wanted to ask, so setting that aside, and that what I somewhat feel like it doesn't really matter what we do, I will treat it like it does, because it does right now, and we're going to treat this as this application in front of us. I wanted to ask a little bit about the setbacks to the neighboring property to the south. Again, recognizing that the RA8 has would have a larger setback than you would have row housing, correct? Because the row housing would be 3 meters away, not including the alley, of course, and not including if they wanted to do a garage there, but this would have to be further set from the alley, correct?
Yeah, the rear setback is 7.5
And is
meters.
that even, because I think in the image in the presentation where you have, almost a bit of an L-shaped building, if you will, that we saw in one of the various presentations that we had today, that part that is closest to our property immediately to the south and to the alley, that's the part that would still have to be 7.5 meters away. So there's.
That's correct.
Yeah, because it looked like, and now I have 10 million tabs
open. The model is on actually slide 3 if clerks could bring it up.
I have 20 tabs open. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, so you can see there's the setback and then the step back. We're trying to show from the west, the property line as well.
Okay. So in that scenario, and again, that's because again, and I very much appreciate, we do often have that privacy conversation, which is that higher, yes, but further back, which is part of that, trying to be recognizing that there could be impacts, and that might, with that additional space, does that provide opportunity to preserve, there's a few trees on that side of things, so there's maybe a greater potential to try to help with some of that.
There's certainly more space, and trees need space to grow, so yes.
Okay. I wanted to, and again, and Ms. Inkpen will quickly tell us that we can't consider property value changes, correct?
You're correct, Councillor.
So while we can't necessarily ask about specific properties, it is fair to ask occasionally from time to time, do we have any evidence? And to date, I don't think we've ever been given evidence that would suggest there's a direct correlation between higher density and lower property values. There's a variety of market factors that play into that, and is that a question that can be asked, Ms. Dinkman?
I think tentatively, if you don't go too much farther
I'm
down
going to
that
leave
road, Councillor.
question mark.
We don't have any official data, but I think generally as land is densified and the ability to build more units on said land, that land value goes higher. So that would account for some of the zoned land as well as the planned land as well.
Okay, I'll have some questions on traffic safety. I'll be back around. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. Councillor Jans.
Thank you for that. May I ask the administration, the quote, the greenest building is the one that's already built. Is that it? Is that true?
Councillor Jans, the city plan has a big city move called Greener as We Grow. I think you're familiar with it. There are targets in the big city move to plant 2 million new urban trees for to maintain a carbon budget of 135 megatons and to reduce the net per person GHGs. So, given the stats and the data that we've heard throughout this public hearing and also recently on this file, we know we're on target to meet the 2 million new trees. And when we think of how do we...
Can I be a little more specific? Because
Yep.
I've heard this two ways. Like I've heard with building materials, there's the embodied carbon. We need to look at adaptive reuse. There's already there's already carbon expenditure there. It's better to leave it there. I've also heard it the other way, that like your 1982 Buick or your 1994 Chrysler is actually belching more carbon, and it's in the amount of time it would take to replace your vehicle, or in this case your home, it would replace itself faster. And I can't get a clear answer, and I'm wondering if that has been reviewed in previous administration documents. Like, if it is, yes, we take a carbon hit on tearing down a house, but if something that's put up is net zero, on what timeline does it offset the change? Do you follow?
Councillor Jans, I follow, and the answer to your first question is it really does depend. And so, generally speaking, when you're taking one older single-family home, vintage 1950s, 1960s, and replacing it with 8 units that are built to today's standard, generally speaking, you're getting less carbon, but it's an overall calculation in terms of people living more densely, living close to transportation. So for me to be able to say that this is, we would need to do some analysis to be able to tell you for this specific application, if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, maybe I'm a little more general here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is an RA8, so if they were to build to sort of maximal occupancy, what would it be?
65 units.
Okay, so we're talking the difference between right now 3 homes with 3 families. Let's say 12 people, and then this could be 65 units, and let's say they're couples, so that'd be 130 people. So we're talking the difference here between the carbon budget for 130 people versus 12 people. So I'm trying to factor that in.
That's correct. But that's
okay.
130 people in a multi-unit building versus 3 families in a single unit.
Right.
Single detached.
Yeah. The other piece I'm sort of trying to run the numbers on here is with regard to the trees. So we would be in this case losing 18 trees if we were to pass this. And I see a mature tree could store about 21 kilograms of CO2 per year, but the average Edmontonian family household produces about 20,700 tons of CO2 per year. And I didn't know this, but are we double the national average in our family carbon emissions?
I don't know if we're double, but we're definitely higher, yes.
What do we attribute that to? Is that our housing stock? Is that our transportation patterns? Is that our love of steak?
It's a number of things, and Councillor Jans, it's probably a better question for when the corrective actions report comes forward on all of our climate work.
Okay. Do we ever in public hearings, because one thing I've heard is, okay, well, if the biggest waste of green space and permeable space in our city is actually asphalt, do we ever in a public hearing consider, for lack of a better word, selling the parking stalls or selling the making this 2-way street a 1-way street, or taking out the 2 lanes of parking and make it just a 1-way street, and then giving the developer or giving the community a whole street full of trees instead, like taking out a lane of parking, but then putting in a lane of trees. Because what Mr. Johnson said to me really resonated about, if this is the cost of climate, this is the cost of climate. So it seems bizarre we're talking about the footprint of the building without talking about all the black tar and asphalt all around the whole area.
Councillor Jans, understood. And so our role here as administration is to take council's current policy and review it against the application in front of us and bring it to council with an analysis of whether we would recommend that you approve it or not approve it. If you would like to look at things like removing lanes to be replaced with trees, then I would suggest that's a policy amendment, and that would be that would come forward at Urban Planning Committee, and that's where the right place is to have that type of conversation.
Okay, so I could think of another development where the developer bought some city land adjacent to the project. So is that because that was specific to that project, not because of that would have been a separate instance? What I'm hearing in this case is there's no room to do that. There's no abutting city land or something.
I'm not in a position today to speak to a different development application.
Okay,
Nor
yeah,
is the
sorry.
team.
That's not fair.
Councillor Jans, I just remind you to try to refocus just on the application that's before you today, and just pursuant to our previous discussion, not look too closely at other previous applications.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay,
Councillor
noted.
Jans.
Thank you.
Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, thank you. I guess my first question is to Ms. Inkpen. Am I allowed to ask questions in relation to the change to from the RA8 zone to the proposed medium scale zone?
So, Councillor, I think there is some relevance there, but I would say yes with three fairly heavy cautions.
Okay.
One is that the zoning bylaw is still in engagement, and it hasn't been completely set. And so it's still subject to change.
Yep.
2, we want to avoid any presumption of any particular outcome as it relates to the zoning bylaw, so be very mindful of that.
Okay.
And although your question or your line of questioning is relevant, I would say that it's of limited relevance.
Okay.
And I would place little weight on any sort of responses as it relates to it in your overall conclusion on this particular application. I would say put less weight on that.
So if I have concerns about this scope and scale and massing at in the proposed new medium scale, would the mechanism, so I can ask some light questions today, but the best mechanisms when the zoning bylaw renewal comes back to public hearing?
Absolutely.
And to ask about that specific
Yeah,
site?
and about the change from one zone to another
Okay.
and the magnitude of the difference, that's the best place for that conversation, Councillor.
Okay, well, I will ask a few questions though. Does to administration, the sun shadowing in the report, that's at 6 stories?
It is maximum build, yep.
So the reason I ask this is because the medium scale zone goes up to 8 stories. And when I asked the applicant about their timeline, it would absolutely be within their right to go up to 8 stories.
Councillor,
If that is in fact approved at the public hearing in October.
so the RM zone has 3 different height possibilities in it, a 4-story, a 6-story, and 8-story version. Through the equivalency table, if it were to be approved, the existing R8 zone, which is a 6-story zone, would go to the 6-story version of the RM zone.
Is that what the context modifiers are?
Correct.
Okay, that helps clarify. That helps clarify that for me. That's all my questions then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Stevenson?
Yeah, maybe just very briefly on the shadow impact. What I was reading on the sun shadow study is that the shadow is fairly quick moving. Is that right? There are no areas sort of in perpetual darkness?
That's correct.
Okay. And I think, when we have I think it's an axiometric view of the massing, I note that we don't have any context in terms of boulevard trees, for example, and the height of those trees. In that area, what is the typical height? Do we have is it a 3 to 4 story height of the boulevard trees?
It is.
So when we think about that building in context, if we had the trees modeled there, it would not be considerably above that line.
Yep, tall trees and landscaping can help to reduce those massing effects.
Great, and again, as part of this, all of the public trees would be protected and required to be kept.
That's correct.
Great. Great, I didn't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. Councillor Salvador, can you take the chair, please?
Yes, I have the chair.
I have a few questions, and I want to follow up on this observation from Mr. Johnson about not here but other properties, right? Our target is about accommodating 500,000 people in mature neighborhoods, right? As we grow to a community of 2 million people, do we need every lot to be densified in order to meet that ambitious goal? Like, what I'm trying to understand, how high do we have to go, and do we have to be developing every possible land that comes before us?
So, Mr. Mayor, the city plan outlines how to achieve that extra million. As you mentioned, 500,000 within the mature neighborhoods, and that is further derived through that nodes and corridors approach, where we're focusing density on the nodes and corridors. Through that modeling, yes, there's some leeway. Some may happen here, some may happen in another spot. But in general, when you're planning at that citywide scale, you can't get down to the lot level in terms of where it can and can't go. So then when we are faced with an application like this, we look at that broader policy framework, and then it's refined through the different stages of our planning and our planning guidelines and whatnot. So our city plan focuses growth on this corridor as a primary corridor, which allows mid-rise to high-rise development. And even our older policy, which we have tended to shy away from, whether that was that transit-oriented development guidelines, which suggest that density should be around transit stations, which this is 200 meters away from.
No, it's in the corridor, right?
It's in the corridor, and even further back are residential info guidelines, which suggest that this is an appropriate location for a low-rise building. So in terms of the notion of does every lot have to be redeveloped or developed, the answer is no, but in general, where development should occur is in these locations that are earmarked to the policy.
And it's fair to say that within this corridor,
correct,
we will look for opportunities for densification, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And we don't control every parcel, so it comes as development is ready. So we have to evaluate that development based on those plans and policies that are set out by council.
So in your conversations with applicants, looking at the local context in this, there's a significant impact on the adjacent property of Mary Clofero's, right? Do we make suggestions to applicants, okay, how do you can mitigate this by maybe not going for 6-story, maybe have 4 stories, that reduces shadowing, that reduces the impact?
So that is part of the rub or the tension of city plan and increasing density along nodes and corridors. There's a recognition that there are going to be impacts, and we empathize with those impacts. This is a big change agenda. It's a change plan. And there will be neighbors that are impacted at the local scale, at the site scale. However, those impacts have to be balanced and traded off with the achievement of those larger goals of density along nodes and corridors, leveraging the LRT network and placing density around those stations. So it's all layered upon each other. And that trade-off and that decision is presented to you. So are those local impacts greater than what we're achieving through balancing that with city plan? Through the site specifically, the zone itself has gone through a number of iterations that have looked at those impacts, how to set it back appropriately from a single-family house in this instance. And we think the zone adequately addresses that through setbacks and step-backs to incorporate that building.
Okay. Yeah, on on the economic viability. Maybe I'll wait for that question and the new information to the applicant. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I will move the second round.
Second.
Please vote for second round.
Yes, Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Councillor Rice. Just waiting on one vote. We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. That is carried. And I'll return the chair.
Okay. I'll take the chair back. And Councillor Knack, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Sohi. I think the only question left for administration, just around the traffic safety piece, it was, I think, last year, some point in time, we did make a decision to remove the jug handle turn that was originally proposed to go in front of this school. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And part of that was a pretty significant request from the school council and many of the residents, because the worry was that under the original plan, I think it was 132nd, 134th, and 136 were going to be the roads we encourage people to use to get across Stony Plain Road. And so this will prevent that heavy volume of traffic it will likely discourage more of that traffic from using that, especially folks that might be going to Westminster School on the other side. They'll have to use other routes to get into that school instead of using that turnaround, which is already, I mean, I pass by it every morning. It's a very congested space right now. So that's part of the approach on this.
Yes, that's correct. So this will be a right in, right out only, but with accommodation for pedestrians.
Yeah, so a pedestrian or somebody on a bike would be able to still cross safely. They'll have a traffic light or some type of pedestrian activated signal that allows them to go across, which hopefully actually should reduce some of the impacts around this current location, because again, right now there's a lot of traffic that uses that road that's not just school traffic, it's other traffic that uses it to whether it's to shortcut in through the rest of the community going to 107th Ave. So there, well, maybe I'll ask it this way. We definitely don't expect it'll get worse because of removing the jug handle turn. If anything, it has the potential to make things better than what we're dealing with right now. Is that a better way to phrase it?
Yep, that's a
Does that make sense? Okay. Doesn't mitigate some of the things, and we'll work on traffic, because independent of this application, there's traffic issues, and I'll happily work with the neighbor there on some of the other tools, Street Labs, because I know the community has been chatting with our safe mobility team around what they might want to do through LRT construction, so I'll work on that. Okay. Those are all my questions to administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. So that concludes the questions to administration. At this time, I will ask if council members have any questions out of the discussion, any new information arising out of the previous discussion. And at this time, I will ask council members if they have further questions on anything. If not, I do have questions to the applicant. Councillor Salvador, can you take the chair, please?
Yes, I have the chair.
Yeah. I asked Mary Conferro about the possible compromise. I just want to get a sense, this is to the applicant, right? What are your views on that? Like, why 6-story, why not 4-story?
Mayor Sohi, I think there was consideration based on the RE8 being approved on 138, looking at the overall model and required density with essentially the cost of construction these days, and based on what we can achieve for rent, more density makes this project a lot more viable.
Okay, so you see the impact on the rental, right? Like how much you can charge, more units you can build, you can make it more affordable for rental?
Yes, correct.
And would that also go into for your future consideration about number of stalls you're going to build to reduce the cost?
Yeah, we're showing approximately 40 stalls in the underground parkade there. As I stated earlier, the cost of constructing those stalls these days is quite expensive. So that was just a response to essentially creating more parking based on the number of units we're going to have. However, if the demand for less parking stalls based on our design as we have it right now exists, then it's far more beneficial to build less parking stalls and make it even more affordable.
Okay. All right, okay, no, I get it, I get your rationale, okay. All right, I'll take the chair back.
Or turn the chair.
All right, so that concludes the questions on the new information. At this time, we are ready to close the public hearing on 3.8.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move closure of the public hearing on item 3.8.
Second.
Second by Council Salvador, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried. Someone move.
Mayor Sohi, I can move first reading of item 3.8 and speak to it.
Yeah, first reading.
Second.
Council Salvador, we have a first reading on the floor. And if people want to speak to this, can you please sign up now? Because we just want to get a sense of the time. Okay. I'm going to sign up. So that's 3. Can we extend the order by 10 minutes?
So moved.
Yep, okay.
Second.
Okay. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. All right, that is carried, and we will take, we'll be on till 12:10. Okay. Councillor Salvador.
Yeah, thank you. So really appreciate the conversation today and our speakers for coming out. I'll speak first about why this is absolutely an appropriate location for this rezoning and why I'm going to support it. So first, I think that administration's analysis is clear and sound as it relates to alignment with the city plan. This site is directly adjacent to a new Valley Line West LRT, directly across from a school, close proximity to amenities, active transit, public transit, and the River Valley. It's located along a primary corridor and is exactly where we'd expect to see this style of missing middle mid-rise development. It's exactly what we have been asking for years at this point. And I think we need to be able to view developments along the spectrum of acceptability. You know, obviously everyone could be more satisfied if developments were only ever proposed on the most ideal, optimal sites possible, but we know that that is not practical or feasible, and that's just not how development incrementally occurs in a city. We have to be able to assess a project and say, this is 80 to 90% of what we would like to see, and we have to be able to weigh the marginal benefits of protecting a handful of urban trees against a forest in a greenfield setting. When I look at all of the boxes that this project is checking off, it's abundantly clear that this is the kind of development that we would like, or that would support the goals of the city plan. I also think about the need for more affordable housing options in our city, and I see that this is going to create more diverse options in a neighborhood that is quite desirable and will help folks afford housing where they can live a really fantastic quality of life. Now I'm going to talk about the climate emergency. And I want to be clear that this council has demonstrated its commitment to climate action and has continued to demonstrate that commitment, whether it's through budgetary decisions that we made during the 4-year budget or through individual rezonings that enable mode shift away from high emissions transportation and lifestyles. I would also argue that this council is so committed to making progress towards climate action that in some cases we're not going to be able to make everyone happy. And I think we're going to see that today. I know for me, I'm willing to do that, and I'm willing to make some folks unhappy because I know that we have a responsibility to future generations to make decisions today that will secure them a livable future. I'm also willing to make that decision because I know that there are future residents and families who will call this building home, who will be happy and thrilled that they get to live in such a fantastic location. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about land use and transportation, and I started to allude to this earlier, but those are the two biggest contributors to climate change. And when we look at the city plan, it combines a municipal development plan and a transportation master plan, so land use and transportation. We quite literally have a roadmap to a more climate resilient city, and that roadmap is the city plan alongside the energy transition strategy, both of which are pointing towards saying yes to this rezoning. Now, it's absolutely critical that we're making decisions that are based on research, facts, and data. When it comes to climate change, we need to be making decisions that are based on emissions and not emotions. As Mayor Sohi and Councillor Jan shared, our own climate advisory group, which is composed of experts in climate action, have advised us that in order to meet our climate goals, focusing on densification will be much more impactful than protecting trees related to infill development. Any single neighborhood tree does not outweigh the importance and need for denser housing options. Our advisory committee has provided data and evidence to back up their recommendations, and that's what we need to remind ourselves of. And then finally, I've been hearing the word balance a lot in today's conversation, and that's interesting because from my perspective, we have been so incredibly imbalanced as a city when it comes to development and transportation for decades. We've favored low-density, auto-oriented development for decades, and it has resulted in a high-emission city that is financially and environmentally unsustainable. So now we are trying to change course, and that's hard. That change is very challenging, but it is necessary. And if we are truly concerned about the climate emergency, I would hope to see Edmontonians championing powerful tools like zoning, asking us to be bolder, go farther, do more. And I'll just end by saying that we are on track to meet our tree canopy targets, but we are not on track to meet our emissions reductions targets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Salvador. Can you take the chair, please?
Yes, I have the chair.
Thank you. I want to start by thanking both David Johnson and Mary Clanfarrow for joining us. I hope so, Mary, that you've been here first time. I hope that even though may disagree on things, I hope you felt that you were heard, right? So thank you so much taking time to be part of this process. Really appreciate it. I also want to acknowledge that there will be impact on you, right? And as we grow more denser, become more climate resilient, and try to fit things into existing areas, right? There is impact on communities. I do not want to anyway, minimize that or not acknowledge that, because there will be impact, and I appreciate that that Edmontonians who committed to building a resilient city, I hope can understand there's a trade-off for that impact, right? So I'm going to support this for the reasons that Councillor Salvador has highlighted. She shared the data that experts have shared with us about why it is important to densify and look for every opportunity. We, in consultation with Edmontonians, set a very ambitious target of accommodating half of the future population growth within existing neighborhoods, right? And in order to do that, we need to look for every opportunity that comes our way through that lens, and this fits into that lens. By accommodating households within existing neighborhoods, we're enabling Edmontonians to reduce their environmental footprint significantly, right? And that's a role that we have to play as leaders, as elected officials, that we need to enable Edmontonians to make those sustainable choices, whether it's through these kind of applications, whether through building sustainable modes of transportation and other, because people sometimes don't have choices, right? We got to create those choices for them to make those sustainable decisions. Because there's a significant difference, 30 to 50% reduction in emissions per family, per household, if we create those opportunities. So I really want to appreciate both of you being here, and thank you for embracing change. I know change is hard. It causes anxiety, but I hope that once this is built, that 65 new neighbors that are going to move into your community will add value to that neighborhood, and bring diversity of people from different incomes and as well. Right, Glenora is a beautiful neighborhood, and it's very desirable, that Councillor Salvador has mentioned, and I hope this will create opportunities for some of the people who may not be otherwise able to live in such a beautiful place. Right, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And with that, I will take the chair back.
I'll return the chair.
And I'll go to Councillor Knack to close.
Thanks, Mayor Sohi. Yeah, I feel like, gosh, you think after 10 years it gets easier to have these conversations, but it doesn't. Because I'm going to support it, but I still feel sick to my stomach, because I know how people will, in the neighborhood, who will feel like council didn't hear them, or council doesn't care, or council doesn't take into account my feelings. And you know, after 10 years, it's still something that, like, you do really take it seriously. Because I know some people will take this vote and say, Andrew doesn't care about Glenora, Andrew doesn't care about, neighbors, because, they keep approving density in the neighborhood. I think a lot about what Councillor Carmel said, I think it was last month, about the Windsor Park discussion, because there's an application that is actually even higher density than what we're being asked to approve today, that's actually interior to a community and across the street from a school. And I think you were very eloquent, Councillor Carmel, at the time, talking about, that is that tension. You really stressed about the importance and that conflict of how, like, we're trying to accomplish these broader citywide goals, and at the same time, as Mayor Sohi just mentioned, there is a real impact. So I don't discount that. And so it's not easy to just say, oh, I support it because I support higher density and we should just do it no matter what. And that's to everyone else. So I don't support it lightly, because while I do believe in what I've just heard from my other colleagues who've been speaking, as someone who also lives in a mature neighborhood and who moved into a 3-story condo building about 15 years ago, I know at the time my community neighbors did not want my building. They were not happy with it. They fought it tooth and nail, and I'd like to believe now that it's seen as a benefit. I joined the Community League before I was on council, and I worked with them to help try to make the community better. It was just before my time. I think it was the last public hearing before I got elected about West Block, which was brought up. And West Block was a 3-day-long public hearing where I think 250 Glenora residents came out in opposition to that development. And I understand why they did. And I think if you also went and chatted with a lot of folks in Glenora now, there's a lot of folks who really, really like having that there. Whether it's Square One, whether it's the restaurants that have set up, it's been really beneficial. But it was a hard public hearing. I sat through it, I listened to it. I wasn't there to speak to it, but just watching. So as I think about this, there's a few things that sort of come to mind. I will echo that, yes, there's a strong environmental need for us to densify, but I don't think that has to be at the expense in a significant way to trees. So I still think we need a big tree conversation. I will save my debate until that council meeting in 2 weeks, but I will say this, which is that I actually don't think we have to choose so much between higher density and tree preservation. As Mr. Johnson mentioned earlier, I think there's an acknowledgement that you can do higher density and still find some ways to preserve trees. So I really don't believe that this is an either or, and even the feedback we heard from the Energy Transition Committee, I think it's not an either or, it's a how do you do that in a thoughtful, considerate way. I think you can still do a 6-story building even and preserve more trees than just a clear cut. So my hope and my challenge to the applicant assuming, and I know it's sort of odd because I actually think this will likely be challenged and it'll likely be over to, and then the courts will uphold the caveat. But let's say for the sake of argument, the courts allowed this to proceed. My hope to the applicant is that they would work, especially as a resident of Glenora, with everyone in the neighborhood on how they can preserve a lot of those trees, because I think there's a lot on that site that even with a larger building, they could do so, and that helps address some of the issues that we've talked about today. The one we didn't talk a lot about today, but I feel I need to stress it for my colleagues one more time, is that we don't have a good heritage management strategy. We didn't approve it during budget, and I'm not just talking about Glenora, to be clear. Like there's a gap that we have across the city about heritage management. To hear the submission we heard today, that's not uncommon. Even though we actually have the best and most generous heritage grants to preserve homes in this country, it's clearly not enough to actually do what we need to be doing. And so I hope that as part of the work of OP12 and trying to find the $240 million that we want to reallocate, one of the things we reallocate to is what was identified by the city auditor in an audit last year about the need for us to actually do some more work on this, because again, I don't think it has to be a choice between heritage preservation and densification, but right now, it's a one-sided debate. It's only densification, and maybe others might disagree with me, but I don't think and it's not disrespect to anyone on administration. We haven't approved that. That's on us. And I think if we actually want to mean it, we have to do something about that. So I'm going to continue to bring that forward at the latest by the end of the year, because we're not doing enough to help save heritage homes, not just in Glenora, but in particular in Glenora, where we have a lot on that inventory. So I'll get to work on that independent of supporting this application, but I will support this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. So we have first reading on the floor. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move second reading of item 3.8.
Need a seconder? Was Councillor Salvador?
Yeah, second.
Okay, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
Mayor Sohi, I'll move consideration of third reading on item 3.8.
Second.
Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. That is carried.
And Mayor Sohi, I will move third reading of Charter Bylaw 20501.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
We have all the votes.
Display the votes, please. Okay, that is carried. So that concludes the bylaws. Any notices, motions, or motions without customary notice? Seeing none, we are adjourned at 12:08. Okay. Thank you.